Heartwarming revelation. Beggar girl's incredible wish for a daddy uncovers a millionaire's hidden heart. 8-year-old Lily pressed her tiny hands against the raindrop-specked window, her imaginative mind weaving clouds of dreams amid the bustling world outside. From her modest apartment, she watched people scurry around, clutching bags and umbrellas, lost in their routines. But all Lily felt was a gaping hole where a father figure should have been. With her mother working 2 jobs just to keep the lights on, Lily decided she needed to take action. One rainy afternoon, armed with colorful stationery and a heart full of hope, she began crafting letters to the local businesses. Her writing was honest and raw, each word shimmering with longing. "Dear Daddy," she wrote, even though she had never met him. "I wish you could love me and my mom like the way I love her. We just need a little help." Each letter radiated her wish, a beacon of hope reaching out into the unknown. Halfway across town, David, a self-made millionaire known for his steely demeanor, sat with a steaming coffee in hand, scanning through the local paper. His world was gilded with success, but the glossy exterior left him feeling empty. As he flipped the page, a crumpled letter caught his eye. It was Lily's, drenched in emotional ink, and it sent a shockwave through him. Memories of laughter and warmth flooded back a childhood where love wasn't measured in dollars but in presence. Her simple, heartfelt words cracked open a part of him he thought had long been sealed. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. Fueled by an awakening ignited by that letter, David threw his weight into the community, offering to help fix schools and organize job fairs. He poured his heart into these efforts, drawn by the light of Lily's hope. But whispers of disapproval surrounded him, questioning why he would waste time where the rich saw only charity. Yet he persisted. However, tensions flared as Lily's mother, fiercely protective of her daughter, confronted him one rainy day. "Are you just trying to ease your own conscience?" she exploded. David felt her words slice through him like shards of glass. Hurt and misunderstood, he withdrew, leaving Lily to grapple with yet another adult walking away from her life. Disheartened, Lily clutched her journal. The pain of rejection swallowed her whole. Yet fate had another plan. An unexpected emergency erupted at the community center, pulling both David and her mother back into one another's orbit. They were forced to confront their assumptions, fears, and hopes in a whirlwind of chaos. As they fought beside each other, heartbeats synchronized in a dance of tension and vulnerability. The real meaning of family began to unravel before them. Through their shared struggles, the path toward connection slowly illuminated in the shadows, revealing that building a family was less about blood ties and more about overcoming barriers. With underlying secrets lingering in the air, they stood on the edge of something transformative, unaware of the journey that lay ahead. The emergency at the community center had drawn in more than just the locals. It attracted a swirl of emotions and hidden anxieties. David glanced at Lily's mother, Sarah, as they maneuvered through the chaos. Her face was a mixture of determination and fear, and he admired her resolve but felt the weight of her mistrust pressing down on him. They had both been thrust into a situation that could either bind them together or tear them apart. Water dripped through a cracked ceiling, scattering about as people hastily set up buckets to collect the rainwater. "We need to hold this structure together," David called out, rallying the volunteers scattered around. Lily stood off to the side, watching intently with her wide eyes. She could sense the passion sparking through the air. It ignited her own longing to belong and be part of something bigger than herself. There, in the midst of the clamor, she felt herself yearning for both a father figure and a greater sense of family. As David swayed back and forth in the cleanup, a heavy barrel rolled toward Lily. In one swift motion, he rushed forward, catching it just in time. "Are you okay?" he asked her, breathless and concerned. I'm fine, she chirped, her cheeks flushing with excitement from his attention. Thanks for being a hero. His heart melted a little at her innocent joy. Every hero needs a sidekick, he said with a smile. It was a simple exchange, yet the flicker of connection bridged the gap growing between them. For a brief moment, he wasn't just a millionaire distancing himself from guilt. He was a person, a human being who could bring comfort and hope. With you on our side, we can save this place, she exclaimed, her voice unfurling with optimism. Lily steps closer to David, her tiny figure radiating pure enthusiasm. Then chaos emerged anew as an old support beam creaked ominously, sending a wave of panic rippling through the crowd. Sarah darted to grab Lily protectively. Get back, she shouted, shielding her with her body. David rushed over, driven by instinct. Stay behind me, David commanded to both of them as he planted himself firmly in front, ready to take action. Just as the beam buckled, he leaped to stabilize it, adrenaline coursing through him. Lily's heart raced, a mixture of fear and admiration coursing through her veins. She realized, in that heartbeat, the profound depth of connection forged in a mere moment of shared peril. With coordinated teamwork, the crowd rallied together, lifting barrels, clearing debris, fortifying the center as the rain continued to pour outside. Sarah and David worked side by side, their earlier confrontations washed away, replaced by mutual understanding that blossomed in the effort. Finally, the storm passed, both outside and within. They stood together in the now-restored community center, panting but proud. Sarah looked at David, a tentative truce forming in her heart. Thank you, she whispered, vulnerability softening her tone. As she turned to look at Lily, who stood beside David, both of their faces glowing with triumph, she couldn't help but feel the cracks of her defenses begin to heal. The family she once thought lost began to feel possible again. But just as hope began to weave through their hearts, a shadow loomed. Unbeknownst to them, a private investigator stood on the fringes, watching. He had caught wind of David's quiet charity and had his own hidden agenda. What secrets could he potentially uncover? And would he suddenly threaten everything Lily dared to dream? The journey had only just begun. As the echoes of hope lingered in the air, David felt a strange knot tighten in his chest. The bond shared with Sarah and Lily had flickered to life, but the shadows still loomed. He caught sight of the investigator one last time, his silhouette barely visible in the fading light. Instinctively, David turned toward the others, attempting to mask his unease. Let South clean up this place for good, he encouraged, trying to redirect the collective energy. We have a lot to be proud of tonight. His voice rang with assurance, and slowly the volunteers began to smile again. He glanced at Sarah, who was still kneeling beside Lily, brushing her hair away from her face, their moment of connection palpable. Yet, for David, it felt as if the ground beneath him was shifting. His past weighed heavily on him, pulling at the corners of his mind like a cold breeze. The investigator hadn't just appeared. He was a reminder of everything David tried to escape. As the cleanup continued, Lily tugged at David's pant leg, her big eyes full of wonder. Can you help us put up a new sign? The one inside wasn't very pretty. Her enthusiasm was infectious, bringing a warmth to David that cut through the chill of uncertainty. Of course. What do you think it should say? He asked, kneeling to meet her gaze. Something about being a family, like welcome home, she suggested, eyes shining like stars. David smiled, genuinely touched. That's a great idea. A place for everyone to feel safe. Just then, Sarah approached, wiping her hands on her jeans. There was a new softness in her expression, and David felt the air tighten between them. Something unspoken but significant. Are you sure you really want to get involved, David? She asked cautiously. This is a small town. We know each other's business, and each other's pasts. David swallowed hard, feeling the weight of her question. He could hear the distant drums of responsibility beat louder in his mind. I know I don't have a great reputation here, he replied slowly, his voice tinged with sincerity. But I want to change that. For Lily, for all of us. The light from the setting sun spilled through the shattered windows, casting a warm glow over their small group. Sarah studied David, an expression of contemplation crossing her face. There was hope in her eyes, but there was also the ache of skepticism, a reminder of the scars of the past. Then the atmosphere shifted, a hushed quiet enveloping the room as Lily clapped her hands, breaking the tension that had formed. "Let us get started. We're a team." As they prepared to paint the sign, David's phone vibrated in his pocket, an unexpected jolt of reality. He hesitated before pulling it out. The screen lit up with a familiar name, one that held more echoes of his past. Dan, his old business partner. "David?" Sarah's voice pulled him back. "You okay?" "Yeah," he replied, forcing a smile. "Just work stuff." Unbeknownst to him, the investigator watched the interactions closely, keen to find out how far the millionaire would go to restore his image. With renewed energy, they began to paint together, laughter creating an oasis in the midst of their struggles. But just as the first strokes of paint touched the wood, Lily's gaze drifted to the window, where the shadow of the investigator lingered. "What's he doing there, Mr. David?" she asked, tilting her head. David felt a shiver run down his spine. "I don't know, Lily," he replied softly, dread pooling in his stomach. Was this the moment his carefully crafted facade would unravel? Would the secrets he thought were buried come back to the surface, threatening everything he was beginning to build? With uncertainty hanging in the air, the door of the community center creaked open. The investigator stepped inside, his presence like a thunderclap in their small sanctuary. "What do you want?" David shot, feeling the tension turn electric. But the investigator only smiled, a chilling expression that hinted at discoveries yet to unfold. And in that moment, everything changed. David's heart raced as he watched the investigator step further into the room, the flicker of the overhead lights illuminating the steely resolve on his face. Sarah instinctively moved nearer to Lily, shielding her with a protective presence. "What's he doing here, David?" she whispered, a tremor in her voice. "It's okay," David said, trying to project calm, even as panic threatened to engulf him. He needed to maintain a facade, not just for the others but for himself. "Let us hear him out." The investigator, a man in his 40s with sharp features framed by thinning hair, took a slow, deliberate step forward. He emanated authority, the kind that chilled the air around him. "David," he began, his voice smooth, yet edged with a seriousness that made David's heart skip. "I think we need to have a conversation." "What about?" David braced himself, the colors from the paintbrush dripping on the floor forgotten. "About your past, and what that means for the present," the investigator replied, casting a knowing glance at Sarah and Lily. David clenched his fists. "Look," he snapped, holding his ground. "I'm trying to build something positive here, something for these people, for Lily. You can't just barge in and oh, but I can." The investigator interrupted, his tone unwavering. "You're a public figure now, David. The community is looking to you. But the past? It doesn't just fade away. It has a way of catching up with you." Lily, tugging at Sarah's sleeve, first looked at David, then over at the investigator, uncertainty in her eyes. "Mr. David, is he your friend?" she asked, her small voice slicing through the tension. David knelt, putting himself at eye level with Lily. "Not quite, sweetheart," he admitted softly, raking his fingers through his hair. He wanted to protect her from this mess, but he also owed it to her to face it head-on. "I promise you, everything will be okay." "Will it?" Sarah's voice cracked, revealing the concern she was trying to mask. "If he's here about what you've done," the investigator raised a hand, cutting off the growing tension. "I'm not here to make judgments. I'm here to present facts." He turned back to David. "I'm giving you one chance to explain your situation before this escalates." The weight of those words hung in the air like a pendulum ticking down to a bomb's detonation. David's options flickered in his mind. Would he come clean, or keep his secrets buried to protect the burgeoning hope that stirred around him? "David?" Sarah's voice urged him. Taking a deep breath, David rose to his feet, determination crystallizing inside him. "What do you want to know?" "You know what I want," the investigator replied, leaning in slightly, the tension pulsing like a live wire. You think you can just erase who you are? Who you were? David swallowed hard, feeling the ties of his hidden past tighten around him. It wasn't just him he was fighting for anymore. It was Lily. It was Sarah. It was this new family he was still learning to embrace. And he wouldn't let this man destroy that. As the investigator opened his mouth, ready to lay bare secrets that David feared would shatter everything, the front door swung open again. This time, it was a group of community members who had come to put their support behind the project and David. Hey, we heard you all could use some help, a cheerful voice called out. Relief washed over David for a fleeting moment, but the investigator merely watched, a sardonic smile growing. Looks like we all have some explaining to do, he said, leaning back against the doorframe, crossing his arms. In a split second, David understood that this confrontation was only the beginning. As the gathered community beamed and stepped inside, their light only highlighted the shadow the investigator cast over them, one that demanded the truth, and one that could unravel everything David had fought to rebuild. The real question now loomed large. Could he face his past without losing everything he cherished in the present? And what would happen if the truth spilled out before him, larger than life and ready to take down everything? In its path, David's heart thudded in his chest as he turned to face the newcomers. Their bright smiles and eager faces brought a flash of warmth to the cold tension in the air. Guys, he started, but the investigator held up a hand, silencing him instantly. Let us not rush this, the investigator said, his gaze narrowing on David. He seemed to relish the chaos, standing like a storm cloud, ready to unleash rain on the hopeful atmosphere that had just entered the room. David, a familiar voice broke through. It was Frank, an old friend from the community who had spearheaded many of the local charity events. We're here to support the project. What do you need us to do? David's breath faltered for a moment. Frank's presence had come as a relief, but the investigator's eyes, sharp and calculating, made his stomach churn. David forced a smile, trying to keep the worry at bay. Thanks, Frank. We're just trying to figure things out here. The investigator's presence loomed larger as the group of supporters gathered closely around David, offering encouragement and solidarity. The atmosphere shifted slightly, with whispers of "we believe in you and you've got this" filling the air. But David felt the weight of the investigator's stare burning through the small talk. He needed to find a way to shift the focus. Everyone, David called out, raising his voice slightly. I appreciate all of you being here. It means the world to me. But I think we need to talk about some challenges we're facing. Lily's eyes lit up at the word talk but shifted quickly back to Sarah when she sensed the tension. David noticed the look of confusion across her small face and quickly knelt beside her. Hey, it's okay, buddy. You're safe here. He took her hand, squeezing it gently for reassurance, searching for a smile on her innocent face to cling to. Before he could continue, the investigator interjected, What are we waiting for? Let us lay it all out in the open. The community deserves the truth. David gritted his teeth. Right now, the community deserves support. My past might be complicated, but it's my burden to carry, not theirs. Perhaps, the investigator said coolly, but it's your past that influences your future. And it may just determine how your community sees you going forward. Enough. Sarah stepped forward, her protective instincts flaring. You're here to investigate something, not pressure David with his past in front of his supporters. All eyes turned to her, surprise written across their faces. David couldn't help but feel pride swell in his chest at her fierce defense. She wasn't just a voice. She was a pillar. The investigator straightened slightly, momentarily taken aback by the fire in Sarah's voice. I'm simply trying to ensure the lineage of trust remains unbroken. David marked this moment. He could feel the shift in power. Then let us build that trust together, he insisted. All of us. If I've stumbled, I want to take responsibility, but I can't do it alone. The room filled with murmurs of agreement from the community. David pressed on, fueled by their support. Let us prioritize the project, our goals, and what it truly means to help each other. And once we've gathered strength, I'll share what weighs on my heart. The investigator narrowed his eyes, sizing up the room, as if measuring the heat of the moment against the weight of unspoken secrets. "Fine," he said slowly, "but understand this isn't over. I'll be watching." As he left the room, a collective breath escaped everyone. Silence fell with an air of uncertainty, but also a flicker of hope. Sarah started, unsure of how to navigate the storm that had just passed. He shook his head gently, drawing everyone's attention back to him. "Let us focus on what matters. We're here to make a difference. Together." With their spirits rekindled, community members began brainstorming ideas, and laughter broke out again. Lily even ventured to suggest art projects to enhance the community center. As David listened to the buzz of shared enthusiasm, he still felt a tightening in his chest. He knew this wasn't just a hiccup. It was a turning point, one that required honesty, but also a deep dive into his own vulnerabilities. What would happen next, as he prepared to confront his own truth? David could feel the storm stirring again, but this time, he might not have to face it alone. David stood there, surrounded by familiar faces, but the weight of the investigator's words hung over him like a dark cloud. Hushed voices echoed through the room like ripples in a pond, a mix of anxiety and hope creating a delicate balance. The multicolored sticky notes covered the board like the dreams and ambitions they all shared. "Let us hear what everyone thinks," he encouraged, trying to direct the energy back to the optimism that had just ignited. As Leo, a young dad, offered ideas for community workshops, David locked eyes with Sarah. There was a silent exchange between them, a promise he could sense, a bond that had just thickened in the face of adversity. Each suggestion built upon the last. A weekend cleanup event, art classes for kids, a food drive. David's spirit lifted as he watched his friends' eyes light up with ideas, their enthusiasm catching fire. This was the heart of their community. This was what truly mattered. But with every laugh and cheer, the investigator's words replayed in David's mind. What did that truth mean for him? "David, what do you think?" Frank asked, breaking through the noise. David hesitated, the weight of honesty pressing down on him like a tangible force. "I think we need to establish our mission first. We need to stand together, no secrets between us. Only trust. Trust is built over time," Sarah said, her voice steady. "But we've seen that it can crumble in an instant, too." Hearing her speak reminded David of the fractures in his own past, each one a story that could shake their collective foundation. "Is it possible to rebuild something broken?" Lily chimed in, with her hand raised and eyes filled with innocence. "Like a glass vase? If you put it back together, can you still use it?" Everyone fell silent, considering her question. David sensed an opening. This was more than just about the community project now. This was about connection. "Yes, Lily, but it takes effort to fit the pieces back together. Can be fragile, just like trust," he replied softly. "I believe we've already started that work," Frank added, nodding at the gathered folks. "We're here supporting you, David. We're ready to unite." As they brainstormed, an unexpected energy began to suffuse the room, each person feeding off the positive current, chipping away at the apprehension left by the investigator. David couldn't help but smile as voices rose in excitement, like a chorus of hope. But just then, his phone buzzed. He glanced down and froze. It was a text from an unfamiliar number. "I need to talk to you. Are you ready for the truth? Dark secrets buried." His heart raced, confusion and dread spiraling inside him. "David?" Sarah's voice broke through his reverie. He looked up, struggling to mask the turmoil twisting in his gut. "Yeah, I'm here." The room buzzed on with ideas, but his gaze drifted back to the text. It felt like a different storm was brewing, one he didn't see coming. "Are you okay?" Sarah asked, her concern palpable. "I think," he started, swallowing hard. "There's more to face than I expected." Lily, sensing the shift, whispered, "Is it about the vase?" David held her gaze. Something like that around him. The conversation began to dim as faces turned toward him, eagerness giving way to anticipation. And now, with a new heaviness in his heart, he wondered, would revealing his own truth cost him this newfound support? Would he risk everything for the chance at redemption? As hope clashed with anxiety in his chest, he realized that his journey was just beginning. Little did he know that the truth he was avoiding could unravel everything he thought he knew about himself and spark a fight for the very core of his community. David felt the room close in on him as the laughter faded, swallowed by his rising anxiety. All eyes were on him, a collective breath held in anticipation. The warmth from the brainstorming session had turned cold, the truth from the investigator lingering like a shadow, tightening around his chest. "You guys," he started, then struggled for his voice. Each syllable felt like it could crack under the weight of what he was about to say. "I've been keeping something close. I thought I could just ignore it." "What is it?" Frank's voice was firm, encouraging. "We're all here for you." David looked at Sarah, her expression a blend of concern and understanding. He knew he had to speak, yet the fear of their reactions gripped him like a vice. "The reason I was approached, it's about my past. The investigator, he might know things that could affect all of us." A murmur swept through the group. It seemed as if the very walls were listening, bracing for every word. "David, whatever it is, we can face it together," Sarah urged, stepping closer, her determination softening the tension surrounding him. But as he opened his mouth to speak, a heavy silence fell, broken only by the sound of Lily's soft voice. "Is it a bad secret?" "A secret doesn't have to mean bad," David replied, forcing a calmness he didn't feel. "But mine, it feels like it might be." The idea of unraveling not just his truth but risking the trust they had built chilled him. "Like a web?" Lily asked, tilting her head in confusion. "You can get tangled, but you can also untangle it." Her innocent metaphor echoed in David's heart. Maybe she was right. Perhaps there was a way to reveal this truth without losing everything. He took a breath, gathering strength. "Okay. The truth is," his voice faltered. He could feel the weight of every past decision crushing down on him. "I wasn't honest about who I am and what I've done. There are things I wish I could change. Mistakes that haunt me." "Like a bad decision?" Frank probed gently. Yes, like that." David's gaze drifted toward the sticky notes, the goals they had painted together, and what felt like a truth threatened those dreams. "I grew up in a different world. I carried some baggage, and it never truly left me." Before he continued, the phone buzzed again. He ignored it, but the sense of urgency crept back in, building the pressure inside him. What if this was the moment everything fell apart? "David, your past doesn't define who you are today," Sarah reassured him, hope lighting her eyes. "It's how you move forward that matters." But what did that mean for him? Would their support remain once they knew the entirety of his truth? A mixture of regret and resolve surged through him. "I don't want to keep wearing a mask. I want to be open with all of you." A flicker of understanding passed through the group. They were ready to support him, but the fear of rejection gripped David tightly. Would they still want him around knowing the full story? As David gathered the last remnants of his courage, the unknown text loomed over him. What secrets did it hold? With a shaky breath, he braced himself for what came next, both for his community and for himself. Knowing his journey was far from over. Would he find redemption, or would the truth tear everything apart? He slipped his phone from his pocket, staring at the screen. "I might have to face something darker than I anticipated." Lily nodded solemnly, like a real broken vase. Feeling his heart race again, David wondered, could he truly mend what was about to be revealed? Or was this the beginning of an unraveling that could break everything they had built together? David's heart thudded in his chest as he glanced at the glowing screen of his phone. There it was again, the nagging buzz that seemed to beckon him towards an unknown reality. "David, just say it," Sarah encouraged, her voice steady. "Whatever it is, we'll handle it together." He swallowed hard, every fiber of his being vibrating with the fear of exposure. "Okay, here goes." The words were stuck in his throat, but the intent behind them pushed him forward. "There are things I did that put me on a path I regret." His voice trailed off, but the weight of it pressed against him, urging him onward. He caught Lily's quiet eyes watching him, filled with an understanding that made his heart ache. "I know it sounds dramatic, but it feels like I've been running from myself. I made choices for survival that hurt others, choices that he hesitated, the truth so visceral it made his skin prickle. Choosing that life, it took me down a road that I never wanted. Frank nodded, a contemplative look in his eyes. You're not that person anymore. We all make mistakes, but this isn't just a mistake. David interrupted, his voice rising with urgency. This was intentional. I hurt people. I was involved in things that, well, let us just say they're not the best chapters of my life. And now that investigator might expose it all. The silence in the room felt tangible, like the weight of the air growing thicker around them. His words hung on the walls, reverberating through the group. Would they still want to stand beside him now that they understood the scope of his struggles? What do you mean, expose? Sarah looked drawn. What did you do? I was involved in some illegal dealings, he admitted, the shame pooling in his stomach. Nothing too violent, but enough to leave a mark. I mean, what if these people come back looking for revenge? I don't want to endanger you all. Lily furrowed her brow, trying to make sense of his words. Can't you talk to the investigator? David let out a gentle laugh that felt more like a release of pent-up tension. That's the thing, kid. I can't just explain it away. It's complicated. The group fell into an uneasy quiet. Each member processed the flood of emotions, the tides of shock crashing against their sense of loyalty. But we're here, Sarah finally said, determination lacing her voice. You're not alone in this. A small flicker of hope ignited in David's chest, but the remnants of fear still held him hostage. I don't want to endanger anyone. What if they find out who I am? What if my past causes you to distance yourselves? David, Frank said firmly, your past is a part of you, but it doesn't define us. We're building something together, and that's what matters. His heart ached with conflicted emotions, fear, guilt, and an unexpected warmth at their acceptance. The thought of unraveling the truth was daunting, yet he couldn't ignore the possibility of redemption. Let me show you how I can change, he said, finally meeting their gazes head-on. I want to make this right, and maybe this is the push I needed. But just as relief began to settle in him, his phone buzzed violently in his hand. The screen lit up again with a message, and he felt his stomach drop. David stared at the name, his heart racing anew. It's from the investigator. The words hung in the balance, stretching out the silent anticipation in the room. What more did they know? What were the stakes now? And were they truly ready to face this storm together? As he hesitated, battling between curiosity and dread, he couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning of an even greater challenge ahead. What awaited him on the other side of the screen? David's thumb hovered over the screen, sweat beading on his forehead. The group's eyes were glued to him, a mix of support and anxiety reflected in their expressions. What did the investigator know? What would this mean for him, for them? Taking a deep breath, he clicked on the message. David, we need to talk. I've gathered some information that may complicate things. Call me when you can. His heart sank as he read the words. Complicate things? Did that mean his past was catching up to him even faster than he feared? The air in the room felt electric, like a brewing storm. What does it say? Sarah pressed, her voice low and steady. It's just I need to call him. It's not good. Panic gnawed at him. He didn't want to bring anyone else into this. Lily stepped forward, her small frame somehow embodying a strength that surprised him. You have to do it, David. We'll be right here. He looked at her, his heart swelling with gratitude. A child shouldn't have to shoulder this burden. Yet here she was, encouraging him like a little warrior. He nodded, holding on to the hope that they could get through this together. David dialed the number and waited, each ring feeling like an eternity. The investigator answered quickly. David, good. We need to discuss something important regarding your case. His tone was grave. Okay. David replied, trying to mask the tremor in his voice. What do you have? There's been pressure on me from some contacts, the investigator said, a hint of sympathy breaking through the businesslike facade. They're asking about your involvement. Allegations are starting to surface. If they go public, they could impact your life and those around you. The weight of those words wrapped around David like a vice. Fear surged through him. What do I do? Can't you stop it? I'm doing what I can. But you need to get ahead of this. You should consider coming clean. David's breath hitched. You want me to expose myself even more? Are you crazy? This is your chance to take control, the investigator pressed. If you're proactive, you could reshape the narrative. The words bounced around in his mind like fireflies searching for a way through darkness. Control felt foreign, almost unachievable. But he sensed there was truth in what the investigator said. All right, he said slowly. I'll do it. As he ended the call, he felt the weight of a new resolve settling over him. He didn't know what lay ahead, but he had to confront this challenge head-on. I have to tell my story, he said to the group, and they leaned in closer, the air growing thick with shared breath. I need to face it. If I don't act now, my past will find a way to hurt all of you, too. Then we do it together, Frank said, placing a firm hand on David's shoulder. You'll face this truth with us at your side. A swell of gratitude rushed through David, mixed with an undercurrent of fear. Would they really stand by him? Could he manage to reshape not just his own life but theirs? It felt monumental, and yet, a flicker of hope danced in his chest. Thank you, he murmured. You have no idea how much this means. But deep inside, uncertainty stirred. Could he truly change? Were they ready for the repercussions of his past? The uncertainty hung between them, thick and suffocating. As David glanced once more at his phone, a new message notification lit up the screen, sending chills down his spine. What now? He muttered under his breath, unsure if he was prepared for whatever awaited him next. The room fell silent again, tension heavy as they all stared at the phone, as if it held the answers or maybe even the key to their fates. What was coming next? And how would they face it together? David's heart raced as he finally gathered the courage to tap on the mysterious message. Meet me tomorrow at the diner. Let us discuss how we can make you disappear. His breath caught in his throat. The implications of those words reverberated through him like an alarm. Disappear? The past he tried to outrun was now threatening to swallow him whole. What is it? Sarah's voice cracked through the thick tension, eyes wide with concern. It's from the investigator, he replied, his voice barely above a whisper. He wants to meet and it sounds serious. The weight of the moment felt heavy. Lily clutched her journal tighter, her innocent eyes scanning David's face, trying to decipher the storm brewing within him. Are you okay? She asked softly, her little voice reaching deep into him. It's complicated, kiddo, David replied, kneeling down to look her in the eye. I'll handle it. Frank stepped closer, an unmistakable determination etched across his face. We all believe in you, David. You've already changed so much. David felt the warmth of the words wrap around him like a blanket. And yet, a dark cloud loomed above. He was terrified that by confronting his past, he might lose everything. Listen, we'll stand by you, Sarah asserted, her eyes shining with fierce loyalty. We'll figure this out. Together. Her conviction touched somewhere deep inside him. Maybe he wasn't meant to face the storm alone. Perhaps the answer lay in unity, in the community they had built together. I know I've asked a lot from you all, he began, emotion catching in his throat. But the truth is, I won't let my past dictate our future if you're all with me. That's what we're here for, Frank answered, solidarity radiating from him. The others nodded, expressions resolute. Tomorrow, I'll face him, David said, rising to his feet, determination coursing through him. I'll tell my story, and then we'll see where it goes from there. Lily stepped forward, determination lighting her face. I'll help too. I can write our own story, a story of family. The hope in her voice made the heaviness in David's chest lift, if just slightly. He smiled down at her, the warmth of her belief igniting a fire inside him. Together, they could turn their vulnerabilities into strength. As the meeting came to an end, everyone rose to leave. David felt buoyed by the words of his friends, the possibility of a new future stretching out bright before him, despite the shadows lurking at his back. Later that night, as David sat writing down his thoughts, the words flowed freely, revealing pieces of himself he had hidden for so long. Memories flickered before him like photographs, each a chapter filled with both pain and lessons learned. Writing helped him view his life differently, one of resilience rather than just failure. The next day arrived with the crispness of early morning. David donned a brave face, his heart pounding as he made his way to the diner. When he entered, he spotted the investigator sitting in a booth at the back. The man's sharp eyes met David's, unyielding. David took a deep breath and navigated the crowd of patrons, determination settling firmly in his bones. "David," the investigator greeted, a hint of a smirk on his lips. "I see you decided to face the truth after all. Let us talk," David replied, taking a seat across from him. The conversation unfolded, revealing layers of secrets and threats. David listened carefully, drawing from his reservoir of courage. With each question, he found himself standing taller, no longer the scared boy hiding behind walls. "I have a past," David began, his voice steadier than ever. "But it won't define my future. I will take responsibility for my actions. I want to make things right, not just for myself but for my community." The investigator leaned back, impressed, yet the skepticism returned. "You think that by being honest, it'll keep the wave of your past at bay?" "It's a start," David replied firmly. "I'd rather face this head-on than let them come after me again. It's time to rebuild my life, our lives." Minutes flowed into an hour as David laid everything bare: the regret, the mistakes, and the newfound hope that had ignited through Lily and the community. Slowly, the investigator's expression shifted from skepticism to reluctant respect. "I admire your bravery, David," he finally said, a new tone in his voice. "But this is only the beginning. You need a plan." Days turned into weeks, and as David took the first steps towards redemption, he felt the warmth of his friends enveloping him like a fortress of support. Together, they organized a community event to spread messages of resilience and authenticity, where David shared his story openly. His courage sparked hope, igniting change not just for himself, but for those around him. As the event unfolded, amidst laughter and tears, the community cheered, enveloping him in warmth and acceptance. Lily stood proudly at his side, her little hand clasped around his, bright-eyed and believing. David's heart soared as he took in the beauty of belonging, realizing that family didn't always have to come from blood. Sometimes, it emerged from the connections formed while walking through the fire together. With the shadows behind him starting to fade, David could finally see the horizon ahead, a community strong, with love as its foundation. And in this moment, surrounded by hope and newfound purpose, he could finally breathe free. This is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe now to catch our next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm humming behind the scenes. Comment your thoughts and feelings about this incredible transformation. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see how a community can rise together.